body. So we'll do like several things today. I forgot to do something. Let me do it now. Okay, so we'll do two things first. We'll do the more or less like a muscle tissue, and after we'll do a nervous tissue, and with the time which is left, we can do like a review of what we saw so far. Huh? Okay. So your muscle tissue. So you know that you have like three types of muscle tissue. You have skeletal muscle. You will have cardiac muscle, and you will have smooth muscle. In all cases, the cells are called muscle fibers, and the cytoplasm of the cell is called sarcoplasm. The membrane which is around the cells, around the fibers, is called sarcolemma. So it's more or less what you have in all cases of muscle fibers. Huh? Skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. Okay? In all muscles, you will have some filaments of actin and myosins. Okay? So you have actin and myosins in all cases, except the organization now. You will have some striations in your skeletal muscle and in your cardiac muscle, but you don't have any striation in your smooth muscle. Okay? Yeah? So this stuff must be clear from the beginning, because you will have some questions about it, either during your written exam or during the practical. Okay? So these main points and general points. So now we can go a little bit further down. For your skeletal muscle, before we look at it, before we look at your skeletal muscle, what do you have? What are the characteristics of your skeletal muscle? You will have your fibers are elongated, so you have some long fibers, okay? They will be multinucleated, so you will have numerous nuclei for one fiber. So you will have like several nuclei, and these nuclei will be located where? They will be located at the periphery. So there you have peripheral nuclei. Remember, so your skeletal muscle fibers are coming from your mesenchyme, they are coming from your myoblast. Your myoblast will form some myotubes, okay? And at the beginning of the development, the nuclei are located inside the fiber, okay, of the myotube, sorry. But progressively, with the formation, with the production of actin and myosin, these filaments will displace your nuclei, which are initially in the center of the myotube, towards the periphery, and after you will have differentiation into mature skeletal fibers. Okay? Remember that you have like a small population of cells which are called satellite cells, and the satellite cells which are located under your basement membrane will keep all along the life the property to regenerate and or to multiply, to proliferate, and to regenerate your skeletal muscle fibers when this one has been injured. Okay? So this is your skeletal muscle. So as we said, you have some multinucleated, elongated muscle fibers. And what are the characteristics of the contraction? It will be like a strong, quick, voluntary contraction. Yeah? So strong, quick, voluntary contraction, and remember that this one, the contraction, will be under the control of your central nervous system, of your brain. Okay? So it's why it's voluntary. By opposition, your cardiac muscle fibers, which are also striated, okay, and they have also, as we said, actin and myosin filaments. So your cardiac muscle fibers will be short, they are branched, and they will be bound together by structures which are called intercalated discs. So your short cardiac muscle fibers are branched and they are bound together by your intercalated disc. The contraction of your cardiac muscle fibers is strong, quick, but it will be involuntary and it will be continuous. Okay, because you cannot stop your the contraction of your heart, okay, which is a good thing somewhere. And so you see that you have like a discontinuous contraction for your skeletal muscle fibers, while the contraction of your cardiac muscle fibers is continuous. Okay. Finally, your last type is your smooth muscle fiber. So your smooth muscle fiber will contain the filaments of actin and myosin, but you don't have any striations, and so they are called smooth. So your cells, your fibers are like fusiform, okay? The fibers are fusiform, okay? And the nucleus will be like in the center, and you will have only one nucleus per fiber, okay? Contraction of this smooth muscle fiber, it will be weak, discontinuous, okay? And it will be involuntary. You cannot stop the contraction of the smooth muscle fibers in your small intestine, for example, and it will be under the control of your sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, so autonomic nervous system and the hormones. Okay? Yeah, so here you have your three types of contraction, so you really need to know these kind of things. Okay? Okay, so if we look here, so it's a bit blurry, but so you can see the striation at this level. So if I go a little bit at lower magnification, you can see that the cells are elongated, okay, and you can see that you have some nuclei which are located at the periphery of the cells. So you should be able to recognize your skeletal muscle fibers on the fact that you have the nuclei at the periphery of the cells, and the cells are elongated. So you have several nuclei located at the periphery of the cells. Okay. So now, as you can see, you will have some striations. Yeah. And I will go again at higher magnification, even if it's a little bit blurry. Which one is a bit? Okay, so you see, you have some. So you see so everybody can see the striations, I hope, because what I see on the small screen here is different from what I see on the large screen. So hopefully.
Study it blurry.
So it's a bit blurry, but can you see the striations or not?
No, sir.
No. No?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
So, okay, so let me go back to the smallest. Can you see the striations here or not? No?
Slightly.
Slightly? What about here? Because I don't have the image of what you see. Wow, I have it, but I have a smaller screen, and on the smaller screen it's okay. I don't think it's better. Do you see something or not? No? Let me go back here and do the white noise here. You don't see anything here? Yeah?
L'état de tub, attends.
No, let me check. Yeah, no, you should see them. I can see them also on the other screen. Yeah? So you see the striations? So, remember the striations are, you have like different bands. So, you have the dark bands, which are the A bands, okay? And which are more or less, if I try to put the arrow on it, so you have the A bands, which are the dark bands, and you will have the light bands, which are your I bands. Okay, so dark bands are the A bands, light bands are your I bands. Okay? Huh? Okay? So, your A bands are made by the juxtaposition of filaments of actin and myosin. So for your dark bands, you have both filaments, actin and myosin. And for your light bands, you have only filaments of actin. Okay? So now you will have some Z lines, and between two Z lines, you will have your sarcomere, which is the smallest functional unit of your skeletal muscle. Huh? Okay? If we go, so this is for the longitudinal view. Now, if we go here, see here you have like a transverse section, and on your transverse section, see the shape of your skeletal muscle fibers, okay? And you can see some, you can see your nuclei at the periphery, and the small dots are nuclei. And you see the shape of your skeletal muscle fibers. Huh? Okay? So these are your skeletal muscle fibers. Remember, the function is, so the contraction will be strong, quick, discontinuous, and involuntary. Sorry, involuntary. Huh? Okay? So,
Sir,
remember.
Could you repeat the
I don't hear you. You want to say it again?
Could you repeat the location of these cells?
The location of what?
The cells.
What do you mean by the location of cells?
These cells that we're looking at. I missed
I don't hear you. You want to repeat again? So, your for the function, huh? It will be, the contraction will be strong, quick, voluntary, and discontinuous. Okay? So you have to remember the different bands. Okay? And you have to remember that your skeletal muscle fibers elongated. Okay? Multinucleated. So you see you have numerous nuclei in the fiber, and these nuclei are located at the periphery of the cells, of the fiber, okay? And you can see the striation. Huh? So it's a striated muscle, and you will have actin and myosin in your sarcoplasm. So A bands are made of juxtaposition of actin and myosin, and your I bands, which are the light bands, are made only of filaments of actin. Remember that you have different types of fibers, which are like the type 1 and type 2, which can be differentiated in type 2A and type 2B. Type 1 is more or less for long distance running, like a marathon, okay? Type 2B is more for sprint. Huh? Type 2A will be like for swimming. And remember that you can, by training, you can modify your the type of the fiber, okay? Okay, so now, what we did not say is that each muscle is surrounded by some connective tissue layer, which is called your epimysium. Okay, so your whole muscle is surrounded by connective tissue layer, which is called your epimysium. Your muscle fibers will be organized in fascicles, and each fascicle will be surrounded by what? By your perimysium. Now, each individual muscle fiber will be surrounded by your endomysium. Okay? So if we look at the one area which corresponds to the junction between the tendon and your muscle, it's called the musculo-tendinous junction. So you have a junction, you have like a structure which is like the musculo-tendinous junction. So in this structure, so this special staining, and in this staining, which is called the Gomori's trichrome, you will have your the connective tissue is staining green. Connective tissue is staining green, and the muscle fibers are stained in brown or purple. So here you see, so it's a connective tissue more or less. It's a junction between the tendon and your skeletal muscle. So at the end, it will give you only the connective tissue because it will be only your tendon. Okay? So, and remember that your tendon is made of connective tissue only. So, here what you have, if I go at here, you see at the periphery, you have your epimysium. So we have some epimysium which is all around your skeletal muscle. It's the most external layer, so it will be your epimysium. If you look here now around your bundles of muscle fibers, around your fascicles, it will be called your perimysium, okay? And around each muscle fiber, it will be your endomysium. So let's go at higher magnification. So here you have your epimysium, which is the outer, the most external connective tissue layer. So again, the connective tissue is stained in green. Here, you will have the perimysium. So you see your muscle fibers are stained in brown, okay, or purple. It depends. Here you will have what? You will have the perimysium, which is around each bundle of muscle fibers, around each fascicle. And if I go at higher magnification, see for example here, you will have around each muscle fiber, will have some endomysium. So you will have some endomysium around each muscle fiber. Okay? See the difference between here and here. Yeah? So here you will have perimycium, and here we will have endomycium. Okay? So it's a little bit tricky sometimes. Huh? So most of the time we ask you something which is not as tricky, which would be like more like epimycium or perimycium, but the endomycium sometimes is more tricky to delineate comparatively to your, or to discriminate comparatively to your perimycium, okay? But remember that, yeah? So at the periphery you have your epimycium. Between the fascicles you have your perimycium surrounding the fascicles, and around each muscle fiber you will have your endomycium. Okay? Yeah? Okay, so it was for your skeletal muscle tissue now. So, second one. So, second tissue, your cardiac muscle. And your cardiac muscle, if you look at here, so is made of smaller muscle fibers, okay? The nucleus, most of the time, is in the center. You have only 1 or 2 nuclei per fiber, comparatively to what you had in the skeletal muscle tissue, yeah? Okay? And the fibers are usually branched, so it means that they are dividing quickly, like you have here. Okay. So let me. And what am I looking for? Okay, plus here, you see you have this little areas. What's the name of this spots here at the tip of the arrow? Everybody can see that? You have several of them, huh?
Yes, sir.
So what is it?
Intercalated disc.
So intercalated disc. Huh? So you see your intercalated disc. So you see you have several of them, huh? along the cardiac muscle fiber. Huh? So intercalated disc, and this intercalated disc are made of different structures, if you remember. Huh? You have like something which is belonging. Okay, the main part is a gap junction. The main part is a gap junction which is made of connexin, yeah? And it will allow the passage of calcium ions. So the main part of it is your gap junction, but you have also like one complex. I mean, it's a complex with 3 components. So main component, gap junction. Second component, it's called the fascia adherentes, and this fascia adherentes belong more or less to the family of macula adherens. Okay? And finally, you have something which is belonging to the family of the desmosome. So you have like gap junction, which is a main component, which will allow the passage of your calcium ions, and your gap junction are made of connexin. You will have the fascia adherentes, which are belonging to the family of the macula adherens, and you have some desmosomes. Okay. So this is very important. It will be your intercalated disc. It's a way to recognize your cardiac muscle tissue from your skeletal muscle tissue. Fair? Huh? So we can show you during the exam. We can show you this type of areas, asking you what it is and what is the function of it, and what is the composition of this intercalated disc. Okay. So remember, the contraction of your cardiac muscle will be strong, quick, but continuous, okay, and involuntary. Yeah, okay. So contraction, strong, quick, continuous, and involuntary. So you have to remember this facts also. Huh? And remember that the nuclei, you don't have so many nuclei per fiber, one or two, and these nuclei are placed in the center of the fiber, and the fibers are shorter than in your skeletal muscle fiber, of course, and the fibers are branched. Okay, so we are okay with that. So now something I don't remember if I told you about it or not. There is one population of, you have one special population of cells. So we are still in the cardiac muscle, okay? Okay. So do you see at the tip of the arrow? So we are in the heart, again, and at the tip of the arrow you have a population of cells that you can see, which are the one which are important. If you want, they're the continuation of your bundle of His. They are the continuation of your bundle of His, and they are very important in the in the propagation of your influx. Okay. So these cells, you see the cells, the cytoplasm is much lighter comparatively to the cytoplasm of your cardiac muscle fibers. So you see cytoplasm is much whitish, comparatively to the cytoplasm of your cardiac muscle fibers. You see, here it is a normal cardiac tissue, and here you have the cells, and the cells are much bigger, okay? And you see the cytoplasm is almost devoid of staining because you have a lot of glycogen in these fibers, and these fibers are called Purkinje fibers. Not cells. It's called Purkinje fibers. It's the same person who described the Purkinje cells in the cerebellum that we will see a bit later, but these cells are called Purkinje fibers. Okay? So don't get confused between the Purkinje fibers that you have in the heart and the Purkinje cells that you have in the cerebellum. So they are part of the system of conduction of the heart, okay? And they are rich in glycogen, okay? And they are much bigger comparatively to your normal cardiac fibers. So this is the difference in size, okay? And you will see them in the second semester this year, okay? So Purkinje fibers, which have a role in the conduction of your influx in the heart, okay? Fine. Usually we don't ask you questions about it during the first semester, but it's better to show you, okay? Okay, so we saw skeletal muscle, we saw cardiac muscle, and now the last one is smooth muscle. And remember, smooth muscle is characterized by what? The fibers are fusiform. They also have, the nucleus will be, they have only one nucleus, which is in the center of the fiber, okay? They have actin and myosin in their sarcoplasm, but they don't have any striations, okay? So here you have, we are back to the jejunum that we saw previously. And I don't know if you can see too well. We are in the, what is called the muscularis externa of the jejunum. So here you will have some smooth muscle fibers. You have some smooth muscle fibers which are here, okay? and they are fusiform. We don't see very well the nuclei on that one, but believe me, you have only one nucleus in this smooth muscle fibers. So remember, the contraction in this smooth muscle fibers will be weak, slow, involuntary, and continuous. And it will be under the control of hormones and the autonomic nervous system. Okay? So now, if I do the same staining as what we did for the musculotendinous junction, which is a trichrome will stain the connective tissue in green and your and your muscle fibers in brown or purple. So you see, remember, so here you have your jejunum, so you have the epithelium here. You have like a submucosa with some connective tissue, and here you will have your muscularis externa, which is made of this fusiform, smooth muscle fibers. Yeah? It's not necessarily easy to distinguish but you see the shape, not a little bit in a fusiform, okay? Okay? So, for skeletal for your muscles, for muscle tissue, you have to remember the three types, the characteristic of them, okay? Yeah? With again, if you go back, your skeletal muscle fibers are elongated, multinucleated. The contraction is strong, quick, discontinuous, and voluntary. For your cardiac muscle, how you recognize it, you have few nuclei. The fibers are smaller, shorter, branched with intercalated disc, okay? And the contraction is strong, quick, involuntary, and continuous. For your smooth muscle fibers, the fibers are fusiform, okay? You have only one central nucleus, and the contraction is weak, slow, continuous, involuntary, and under the control of your autonomic nervous system and the hormones, okay? So it's more or less to summarize your muscle tissue. Yeah? Okay, so now, in like maybe, I think it's in when we do the lymphoid tissue, we will do some kind of review using your the clicker. Yeah? And you will use your cell phone or whatever you want, cell phone or tablet, and you will be able to do that. Yeah? So we'll do one at that time, and we will redo one at the end of the semester. Yeah. So it will give you it will help you to view the whole stuff again and to review it. Okay. So now, Mortiden, who is in a part of MITS, is okay to do it. So. Okay, so now let's jump to your nervous tissue. Okay. So we'll see three parts. Huh? Remember the cells that we saw previously. You have mainly you have like three types of cells to know, and okay, here we go. And three types plus your peripheral nerve. Huh? So, okay, so what type of cells is that one, for example? So it is like an hematoxylin and eosin section okay, so what kind of cell is that one?
Is that the pyramidal?
Huh?
Is that the pyramidal cell?
Pyramidal. Okay, good. Yeah. So it's a pyramidal cell. But you see that it's not so easy to distinguish. And you know, you have like 86 billions of neurons, huh? And the problem is for some cells, so some staining don't always show you the number of cells or the shape of the cells or their directions. Okay, so this one is a little bit better. So you see, you can guess. You have one pyramidal cell here. You can see so you have an apical dendrite. See that the apical dendrite is going towards the periphery. So you see this one, you have another pyramidal cell here. You have another one, sorry. You have another one here, and you see the apical dendrite are going towards the periphery, which is here. And the periphery is more or less where you have your meninges, and here you have your the inner layer of connective tissue of your meninge, which is called your pia mater. So your pia mater is at this level. So your pia mater is covering the directly your cerebrum. Okay. So and you see it's difficult. So you have like some small pyramidal cells at this level. I told you, you have like typically you have 6 layers of cells in your cerebrum. You don't have to know this stuff for now. Remember that you have your pyramidal cells. So the main part for you for this year is to remember the pyramidal cells in your cerebrum. However, so as we said, I even don't want to show you this one or this one. You have other staining, and so this one was an hematoxylin and eosin staining. Okay. So you don't see too much. How many cells did we see? We saw like maybe like 5 or 10 cells. Okay. So this staining now is called Nissl staining, okay? And you see that you can identify much more pyramidal cells. You can see them? So you can identify what? You can identify, so you have the soma. Remember, in each neuron, you will have the cytoplasm, which is called the cell body, which is called the soma. Here you will have what? You have the apical dendrite, and this apical dendrite is going again towards the periphery, so towards your meninge, which is here, okay? And I don't know, yeah, okay. And so you have the apical dendrite, and you will have like here, you have like the basal dendrite. So you have like a dendrite coming from the apex and going to the periphery, and you have like a basal dendrite which is rising from the base of your pyramidal cells. So these big pyramidal cells, they are called giant cells of Betz, B-E-T-Z, giant cells of Betz, and they are the ones which are involved in the execution of the movement. So these giant cells of Betz are the ones responsible of the execution of the movement, and usually you can find them in the 5th layer of your cerebral cortex, okay? So you can find them in the 5th layer of your cerebral cortex, okay? So you will see see this part next year in the 2nd semester. But you see, so beside your giant cells of Betz, you have some cells which are smaller, which are called granular cells. See the small cells which are more rounded, they are called granular cells, okay? And they are more numerous than your giant cells of Betz. Okay, and so here you see, Okay, I don't know if you will be able to see. So here, in this one, what do you have? You have your cell body, you have the soma here. On the side, you have your basal dendrite, okay, and something which is much smaller here, just at the tip of the arrow. You see, you have something which is leaving from the cell body, and it will be the axon. So you will have the axon leaving from cell body. I can try to put it at higher magnification, but it might be blurry. But let me try. So again, here you will have the apical dendrite. Here you will have the basal dendrite. Okay, and here you see. Right here, you have the axon which is leaving the cell body. You see, you have just a little part of the axon, just the beginning of it. Remember, it's called the axon hillock, the area of the cell where of the neuron where the axon is leaving the neuron. Okay. Here you have. I don't want to get. You don't have to know that. This one is a basket cell. So you have different types of cells. So you see you can follow the apical dendrite here at this level, and you have more pyramidal cells. So remember that the pyramidal cells again are the one responsible for the execution of the movement, at least the one which are in this area. So you see this one is relatively nice. So you see they are shaped in pyramid, and they are localized in a different direction, and they are not in a particular spot. Look at this one, for example, if you want. So you see this one here. Now, let me go to you. Okay, so here you have your pyramidal cell. You see your two basal dendrites, one here, the other one here, and here you have the apical dendrite. So the apical dendrite, if you want, will carry some information coming from these pyramidal cells towards the first layer. Here we are in the fifth layer, okay? So your apical dendrite will climb towards the first layer, and it will get in you will have some synapses with all the cells which are located in the first layer. So you see you have your apical dendrite here, and it's continuing more or less here. Yeah, so you can follow more or less the apical dendrite. So it's the same story here. So it's a relatively long process. Okay, so it's more or less what we will ask you to identify your pyramidal cell and to ask you in which structure it is located. Okay? Something that you don't have to know. Here you have a structure, which is here. You see the structure, like in the field? So it's called the hippocampus, and it is a structure which is important in the memory. So it is your hippocampus, which is important in your memory process. Okay. Yeah. So you see this staining is allowing you to see the different cells. Huh? But imagine now that you want to show the imagine that you want to show the fibers, and remember, your what is surrounding the axon, you will have the myelin. You will have the myelin sheath. What is the cell producing the myelin in the central nervous system? What is the cell?
Oligodendrocytes.
Oligodendrocyte. Okay? So, and in the peripheral nervous system, what is the myelinating cell?
Schwann cells.
Schwann cell. Okay, so now imagine you want to show, and remember, so you have your the gray matter in the cerebrum and in the cerebellum is at the periphery, and your white matter is in the center. So there is one. There is one special staining which is called Luxol blue. Which one is this? So this staining will show you. You see what is in blue is a myelin. So you have a structure here which is called the corpus callosum, which is stained in blue. Okay. And here you will have what? You have your optic chiasma, which is stained in blue also, because you have a lot of myelinated fibers passing in these areas. So of course it's in the rat, so you don't have the same type of structure that you have in humans. Okay, but it shows you that you can use a particular method to stain whatever you want. Here you will stain your myelin sheath, and you see they are like totally in blue. So if I want this one, okay, so this one is the same, but there was a combination of both staining. So you have the Nissl staining combined with your Luxol blue. So you have combination of the structure which are like stained by the myelin, which are your myelinated fibers, with your neurons, which are stained in purple, more or less. So you see, we find again your the hippocampus that we saw previously. So you see in the hippocampus, you will see next year, you have some cells which are called the pyramidal cells, which are here, and your granular cells, which are here. Okay, so you don't need to know that. And so here you have this bundle of myelinated fibers corresponding to your corpus callosum. Okay, and here we are coming back to what we saw previously. Let me put it here. And so here you have your pyramidal cells. Okay, so you have your pyramidal cells in the 5th layer, and okay, and you might see or not the difference here. Okay, here you have, okay, good. So you have all these little fibers, which are like, for example, the axons and all the fibers which are climbing towards, or the dendrites, which are climbing towards the molecular surface and which are stained here. Okay, and that we did not have previously. And you see all these fibers. which are stained by this Luxol blue, even here. So let me check this stuff. So it will be blurry because it's a bit, it's at higher magnification. But you can guess the little spine. You remember the spine, which are like some protrusions on the dendrite, for example, which are there to increase the surface of contact between the synapses, between the dendrites and all the axons or the dendrites. Huh? So you can get them on this fiber. Huh? We don't know exactly if it's probably a dendrite. Huh? Okay? So just to show you that you can use different methods to stain different structure in your brain. Huh? Okay? Okay, so now if we go back to so remember, main point for you today. Main point is what you have to remember is your pyramidal cells, okay, fine, which are located in the 5th layer of your cerebral cortex, okay. So it's the main point. And if we ask you this stuff, we'll ask you in which organ can you find the cells, so it will be cerebral cortex, okay? Wow, okay. So, second thing, so what organ is that one? What do you think it is?
Brain?
Huh?
The brain?
No.
The gut.
Huh? Which part of the brain? Which part of the brain?
Cerebellum.
Cerebellum. So what we saw previously was the cerebrum, so cerebellum. So you have 3 layers in your cerebellum. So your cerebellum is characterized by folds. So you see you have some folds, okay? You have some fissures and some folds, okay? Which are called foliae. Foliae means like leaves in Latin, okay? So you have some foliae, and so you have 3 layers. So you have this here, you have like the molecular layer, you have the molecular layer. So molecular layer, in more densely packed, here you have your granular cell layer. So more densely packed, you have your granular cell layer, okay? And in between the molecular layer and the granular cell layer, you have your, someone can tell me, what are you supposed to have here?
Purkinje layer.
Purkinje cell layer. So you have your Purkinje cell layer, okay? And you see all this part, molecular cell layer, Purkinje cell layer, and granular cell layer are forming the gray matter, okay? You see here it's a little bit more tricky because it's not as dense as here, but still it's your gray matter, okay? And here you have what? You will have your white matter. So the white matter is in more or less in the core of your cerebellum. Okay? So this is your white matter, which is at this level. And you don't have to know that for this year, but the white matter of the cerebellum is made by the myelinated axons coming from your Purkinje cells. Okay, so your Purkinje cells will have, so they are located where they are located here. So your Purkinje cells are located here, and they will give some axons that will pierce through the granular cell layer, and they will form the white matter. Okay, so if we look at higher magnification now, so you see you have your molecular cell layer, which is here, which is like you don't have so many cells in this molecular cell layer. Here you have your Purkinje cell layer, and you see you have some Purkinje cells, and your Purkinje cells are all located, let me go at higher magnification. So you have some Purkinje cells, so they are pretty big cells, and they are piriform, so it means that they are pear-shaped, okay? So they are pear-shaped. So here you have your molecular cell layer, you have your Purkinje cell layer, which is here, okay? And here you will have your granular cell layer, and your granular cell layer, you have a lot of granular cells, which are much smaller than the Purkinje cells, okay? And this Purkinje cell layer is densely packed. And after you will have your white matter, which is here. So again, you have your molecular cell layer, which is where you have few cells, okay? You will see the cells next year. Here you have your Purkinje cell layer. You see that okay, so you have the neuron itself. You have the Purkinje cell, okay? And here you have the nucleus, which is here, which is the area which is a little bit like which is rounded and which is like a little bit more pale. And in the center of the nucleus, you have a dot. You see the dot? And the dot is like the nucleolus. So it is the nucleolus, which is at the tip of the arrow here. So you have the nucleolus, which is in the nucleus, in the Purkinje cell. What we don't see here is your dendrites, and your Purkinje cells have some dendrites, okay? And after that, you have your granular cell layer, which is here, okay? And of course, here you will have some extension of your pia mater, of your meninges, in between two foliae of your two folds of your cerebellum. Are we okay? Yeah? Okay, so this stuff does not help too much. So, well, I can show you what it is in the dog. So this one was in the rat, in the dog, but this one is kind of pale. So I even don't know if I want to show you. So the hematoxylin in the dog, so you can recognize your molecular cell layer, Purkinje cell layer, and granular cell layer in the dog. Let me go at higher magnification. So you see the shape is a little bit better. You can see the shape here. But still you don't see the dendrite, the dendritic tree very well. Okay? So there is a special staining for that. And if you have and you will have a question about it. If you want to recognize your Purkinje cells, this one, so this staining is better, and it's more or less what you will have for the exam. See that it's easier to see the different components. So it's toluidine blue. You don't have to know the name. So here you have your molecular cell layer. Here you have your Purkinje cell layer, and here you have your granular cell layer. Okay. So what you want to know to make the difference between your Purkinje cells and your pyramidal cells, you see that your Purkinje cells are all aligned. They are aligned along your granular cell layer. Remember that in the case of your pyramidal cells. The pyramidal cells were like going a little bit in different directions, but not really. But they were not close to each other necessarily. They were not opposed to each other. But if you go here, you see that it's more or less the case. Huh? Your Purkinje cells are aligned along your granular cell layer. Huh? Okay, and second thing that you can find in your so you see the shape of your Purkinje cells. Huh? So again, they have the shape of a pear, and you can see the nucleus, which is darker, okay, in the center. And okay, and here you can see, for example, you can see the dendrite, the apical dendrite again, leaving your Purkinje cell. You can see the dendrite here. It's not the best example. Let me try to find something better. Okay, so here you see the dendrite, so dendritic tree, yeah, with two branches. Okay, this one might be a little bit better. Okay, so here also you see the dendrite, which is here. Okay. Okay, this one is a little bit better. So here again, you see the dendrite at the top, at the apex. Yeah? Here a little bit better, you see the dendrite with two branches. Yeah? One here, and one which is shorter, which is here. Okay? You have one branch here. Here you will have two branches. So you have some ramifications. Huh? You have the main apical dendrite, and this one will subdivide into one branch here and the other branch here. Okay? Let me try another one. So you see in this one, the nucleus which is here, okay, and you see in the center you have the nucleolus, which is this dark dot, and here you have one dendrite. Oh, this one. So see, you have another one here. Huh? This one is a little bit distorted, but so you see, you have the main dendrite here. It will divide into two little branches, one here and the other one at this level here. Okay? So anyway, what you have to remember is you want to recognize your Purkinje cells. So they are pear-shaped, yeah? And they are like a line along your granular cell layer, huh? And so it makes the difference with your pyramidal cells, huh? Okay. So for this okay. Okay. So you see, maybe this one is better. So you see the different, the dendrite here. Okay. And you have another one here. And one here. Okay, here too. Huh? So remember, huh? So the shape and the location, which is like totally aligned along your granular cell layer. Huh? So it should help you to recognize your cerebellum. Huh? I mean your Purkinje cell, and okay, but look at this one. This one is nice. See, you have one. You have your Purkinje cell, and you have one dendrite, second dendrite, and you see that this dendrite here is branching into secondary branches. You have one here and one here. Huh? Okay, so you see here you have a dendritic tree, which is a little bit better than what we saw previously. Yeah. So for the exam, you will have this type of staining. Okay. And you will have also the type of staining that I showed you, the Nissl staining or chrysal. Okay, look at this one. The chrysal violet for the pyramidal cells. Huh? So you see this one, yeah? And like a bunch of them here. See with so a good thing to change. See the different dendrites here, branching in two dendrites, and it's something here, and here, and here, and here, and here too. Okay? And here too. Wow. Look at this one. Huh? So it's relatively easy to recognize them. Yeah? Okay? Okay, so cerebellum. Yeah? So now more quickly. What is that one?
Spinal cord.
Good. So good. So let me turn it the other way. So it will be relatively easy to recognize spinal cord. We'll show you this. So what is this little hole? What is that?
Central canal.
Central canal. Good. And so you see, you will have your. So this is the anterior horn of your ventral horn. And if we go at higher magnification, you can have some. You can see the neurons here. And what's the name of these neurons? They are. What's the name of the neurons? In the anterior horn of the spinal cord?
Motor neurons.
Motor neurons. Huh? So you have more motor neurons here. Okay. And you have some here. So something else that you don't have to know for this year. So you see in your central canal, we're in the central canal now. So you see you have some cells. What's the name of the cells actually here? What is the name of the cells lining the central canal? Start with the E.
Ependymal.
Good, ependymocytes. So remember, you have four types of glial cells. You have astrocytes, microglial cells, oligodendrocytes, okay, and you have ependymocytes, and the ependymocytes are lining your ventricles, which are the cavity which are filled with cerebrospinal fluid in your brain, and your central canal. And you see at the top of your ependymocyte, you have some ciliae. Hopefully you will see them. You have some ciliae, and the ciliae will help in moving the cerebral spinal fluid in your ventricles or in your central canal, like here. Huh? They have other functions, but you will see the other functions next year. So you see the ciliae at the top of your ependymocytes. Huh? Okay? But for you, try to remember that usually we put like a piece of, let's say, spinal cord, like, try to show you where it is by showing you like a little area of your central canal. Huh? And because if we ask you just a question about the neuron, because they don't look like, they are not very specific by themselves, these motor neurons. So we need to help you by showing you like a little the location where you are. Okay. So you have more motor neurons here. So here you have what you have. You have the roots. You have the roots which are leaving the ventral horn of your spinal cord. So let me go at higher magnification here. And so they are not the best. The weather stand here is not so great, because you have a lot of artifacts. Okay, so spinal cord, and so this one is the spinal cord also. But this one is a bit pale. So we are in the okay. So you see you have your motor neurons which are here as well, and you see you have some you will have some processes which are here, which will be your dendrite. Remember, you have like, so what type of cells? It will be a multipolar cell, okay? Your motor neuron is a multipolar cell, okay? So you have some processes which are dendrites, or it can be the axon also. Most of the time you don't see the axon very well. Huh? So most of the time the processes of this multipolar cell will be your dendrites. So motor neurons, which are relatively big cells, with some processes which are dendrites, okay? And they are the one, more or less, they are called, they are the one which are important for the, you have some here. So from your motor neurons, you will have some fibers, you will have some the fibers, correct, which are going in the roots, and these fibers will finish where? These nerve fibers will finish towards, or will go towards your skeletal muscle fibers and the glands. So they are like they are important also for the execution of the movement. Okay. So if you want to, so you have another one here. So to make a long story short, we saw previously your pyramidal cells. Remember, I told you that you have some cells which are giant cells of Betz, BETZ, in the fifth layer of your cerebral cortex. This giant cell of Betz have their axon will go down, will descend in the spinal cord, and they will make synapse on these motor neurons. So remember, the giant cell of Betz are responsible for the execution of the movement. So they will command, if you want, they will make synapse with this motor neurons in the spinal cord, and they will command the execution of the movement through these motor neurons, whose axons are going towards the skeletal muscle fibers or your glands, for example. Okay? Okay, so now, more quickly, peripheral nerve. So peripheral nerve, so remember, so it is a section of the sciatic nerve. So it is a bit pale at this magnification. So you will have, remember, what is the name of the connective tissue layer which is at the periphery of the nerve? So it is a whole nerve. So what is the nerve of the connective tissue layer, which is here, which is at the most external connective tissue layer around your nerve? What is it? What is the name of it? What did you say? I don't hear you.
Endoneuron?
No, at the
Epineurium.
external. Huh? Say it again. Epineurium. So your epineurium is the most external connective tissue layer. Okay. So this is your epineurium. Now you see that your nerve fibers will be arranged into fascicles. See so here you have a fascicle. You have another fascicle here. And you have another fascicle here, another one here, and all these fascicles are made of isolated nerve fibers. So you see you have like some connective tissue layer, which is here, just at the tip of the arrow. So what is the name of the connective tissue layer surrounding each fascicle?
Perineurium.
Perineurium, okay? And if we go at higher magnification, each nerve fiber will be surrounded by your endoneurium. Okay, so let's go at higher magnification. So you see here you have what? You will have your perineurium. So this is a vessel here, okay? So here you will have like a perineurium. Let me go at higher magnification. So this is the perineurium which is here. And here you will have some nerve fibers, which are cut transversally. And between each nerve fiber, what we don't see very well, between each nerve fiber, you will have some endoneurium. Okay? So between each nerve fiber, you will have some endoneurium. So each nerve fiber is surrounded by some endoneurium. Okay? So what is important to know, maybe you see your perineurium here. Okay? And you had your epineurium here. Okay, so you probably will have some questions about that. Huh? So this is more or less like your sciatic nerve, which is cut transversally. It can be also cut obliquely, so you can have the nerve fibers going in different directions and longitudinally, like this one. Okay. So what is the nerve? What is the cell responsible for the myelination in of your peripheral nerve?
Schwann cell.
Schwann cell. Huh? Okay. And how many neurons can a Schwann cell myelinate?
One at a time.
One at a time. Yeah. And how many axons can an oligodendrocyte myelinate?
More than one.
More than one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now remember what is the percentage of lipids in your myelin sheath?
80%.
How much?
80.
Yeah, 80, between 70 and 80. Huh? So yeah, there is this staining which is called osmium tetroxide, and you can stain. You can stain your. Let me do the. No, it should be okay. And you can stain your. Let me. That's really better. Okay, so you see the brown ring, yeah? And this brown ring will correspond to your myelin sheath. Yeah? So the brown ring will correspond. So it's a transverse section of your nerve. Huh? Okay. So the brown ring will correspond to the myelin sheath. Okay. And the space which is devoid of any staining will correspond to the axon. Okay, so you have the axon without any staining, and around the axon you will have the myelin sheath, which is stained in brown by this osmium tetroxide staining, which is staining the lipids. It's a staining for the lipids, and it will work for both light microscopy, like here, but also in electron microscopy. It will stain the lipids in both cases. So for you, remember, when you see this staining, it will tell you that the lipids are stained in brown. Okay? So what you have in brown here, it will be your myelin sheath. Okay? And the center of the ring will be your axon. Are we okay with that? Yeah? So you have to remember that. And now, it's where it's always the most difficult part. And it's where you need to trust me. So T is now it is a longitudinal view, but I'm not sure that I will be able to show you anything. Maybe here, but you have to trust me. Huh? But the problem is that the light is fluctuating, so. See the area here. The problem is that the light is moving. So the area which is here, okay? But I have to move it upstairs, above. So see where this fiber is, okay? And try to follow it. So see there is like a little, it's getting shorter. I mean, you have like a depression in between the two, the nerve fiber, in the nerve fiber, and it might be a node of Ranvier. You see that the size, you have like some depression between, in between the nerve fiber. So it might correspond to your node of Ranvier, but it's difficult to show you because of the light, which is not very stable. Could be the same here. The same story. It's like a something here. Huh? You could imagine. See there is like a little depression, little gap in between your the two sides of your nerve fiber. So it should be like a node of Ranvier. And remember, in your node of Ranvier, what the function of it, you will have like a saltatory conduction. So the function of it is to increase the speed of the conduction. Yeah? Already the function of the myelin is to increase the speed of the conduction, but with a node of Ranvier, it will help in doing so. So here, for example, like something here, up, just right here. See, there is something which is like a little bit whitish in between the two. Between the two fibers, I mean, inside the prolongation of the fiber, you have something which is you have a little gap, and this little gap, this one is a little bit more convincing. It's probably a node of Ranvier. Okay, yeah, you can see that one. Huh? See the little whitish area at the tip of the arrow. Huh? Okay. Okay. So what time is it? Let's do. Want to do a quick review of everything? So if I show you that, what type of tissue is that?
Embryonic connective tissue.
Embryonic connective tissue, what organ?
Umbilical cord.
Umbilical cord, good. Okay. What organ is that?
Trachea.
Trachea. What type of epithelium? What is the type of epithelium?
Pseudostratified columnar epithelium.
With
Goblet cells.
pseudostratified columnar
Goblet
epithelium.
cells.
Ciliated. You see the cilia at the
Yeah.
top, and with goblet cells. Okay. Now, if I go here, what type of cartilage? In the trachea. Hyaline. What is the type of collagen that you can find?
Type 2.
Type 1.
Type 2. Type 2. Type 2. Okay. What is that? What is the organ?
Skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle.
Huh? No. It's where you have to be careful. Huh?
Is it the intestine?
Say it louder.
Intestines?
Huh? I don't hear you.
Smooth
The jejunum.
muscle in the intestine.
To be honest, I don't hear you too well. So, do you see any striations? No. So, and you see the fibers are aligned in the same direction. So, what could it be?
Smooth muscle in the intestine.
It's not muscle. It's where you have to be careful because.
Is it loose connective tissue?
The tendon. So it's tendon. So tendon is what type of connective tissue?
Dense regular.
Dense regular. What type of collagen?
1.
Type 1. Good. Okay. So now, what is that? What is that?
Mucus and serous acini.
Good. So okay. So this one is mucus, yeah, mucus acinus, and this one is what? This one's a duct. Okay, and remember the ducts are made of, could be cuboidal epithelium, but it could be also a stratified cuboidal or stratified columnar epithelium. Huh? Okay, so this one, I don't know if it's this one. This stuff. We did that one. Oh, no. Well, yes. I'm not sure that you will know for this one, actually. What do you think is that one?
Elastic cartilage.
Good. Elastic cartilage. So where can you find it?
The pinna of the ear.
Yeah, so pinna. Huh? But it's not what we will. What type of collagen?
Type 4.
Type 2.
Type 2. Type 4 is for your basement membrane. But it's not the type of slide that will give you. The type of slide that will give you for that one is this stuff. So you see for the pinna, you have, so what's the name of the cells in there?
Chondrocytes.
With the pinna, chondrocytes. Chondrocytes are located in what space? Here? What is the space here? What's the name of the space?
Lacunae.
Yeah, lacunae. Huh? So will give you more this type of staining compared to the what I showed you before. Huh? Okay, so this one. I don't know. Okay, maybe. Oh, no. Are you able to tell me what type of epithelium you can find here?
Pseudo-stratified columnar.
No.
Simple columnar.
What I show you? Huh? Yeah? Columnar is good. I did not hear what you said first.
Simple columnar.
Simple columnar. Simple columnar, and remember it's staining for the goblet cells. Huh? And okay, so it's your so which organ do you think is that one? It's so where can you find your simple columnar epithelium? In which structure?
Intestines.
Yeah, so intestine is good. So in a general way, you can say a gastrointestinal tract. Huh? Okay? Yeah. So in this case, it will be jejunum. So it's part of your small intestine. Okay? Okay, so one or two more. So this one might not be too easy. Do you know what do you have here?
Skeletal muscle?
Huh?
Skeletal muscle?
No. What did you say? Muscle?
Yes, sir.
Look at the cells here. So what kind of cartilage. What type of cartilage?
Fibrous cartilage.
Fibrocartilage. Because look, all the fibers are going in the same direction, to sustain the pressure, more or less. So you have like the cell which is indicated by the arrow will be like a chondrocyte in lacuna. So it will be your fibrocartilage. Where can you find the fibrocartilage? In which structure? In which structure can you find the fibrocartilage?
Meniscus.
Yeah, right. Meniscus, intervertebral disc, pubic symphysis also. And what is the type of collagen for that one? What is the type of collagen for the fibrocartilage?
Type 3?
No.
1?
No. 1. Okay. Type 2 is for the other cartilage, elastic and hyaline. And type 3 is for mainly the one that you find in your spleen and lymph node. And so this one is type 1. What is that? What kind of tissue do you have here?
Compact bone.
I didn't hear you.
You said compact bone.
If I show you this area here, what could it be? It's a bone. So you have your cancellous bone here, or spongy bone, and you will have your compact bone here. And if you look here, you have, let me show you here. So you have the osteon. So you have the central canal, okay? Yeah. In the center. Here you will have what? The little holes will be what? It will be your lacunae, okay? Yeah? Where you have what type of cells do you have in the lacunae? Osteocytes, okay? And radiating from the central canal, and if you are going from one osteocyte to the other osteocytes, you will have some small canals, which are difficult to show you because, okay? You have some small canals which are here, which are very small, which are called canaliculi. So you can be sure that you will have a question about it if it's a written exam or maybe for the spotter. So it will be your canaliculi are the canals which are allowing the exchanges between two osteocytes, for example. Okay. So it's your compact bone here, and okay. Maybe this one. What type of epithelium you have here?
Urothelium. Urothelium.
No.
Not you.
So look at the cells at the top.
Stratified.
So Yeah.
Squamous.
Stratified squamous. Keratinized or non-keratinized?
None.
Non-keratinized. So where can you find it? Give me an example of an organ where you can find your stratified squamous non-keratinized.
The vagina.
Huh?
In the vagina.
I want two organs where you can find your stratified squamous non-keratinized.
The eye.
Huh?
The eyeball.
No, stratified squamous non-keratinized. So where could it be?
In the esophagus and the vagina.
Good. Okay, good. Esophagus and vagina. Yeah? Okay. And now maybe this one to finish. If I show you this one, what is this type of epithelium?
Simple cuboidal.
Simple cuboidal. Where can you find it?
The kidney.
Kidney. Which part of the kidney?
The kidney tubules proximal underneath the kidney.
Yeah, tubules. Huh? Because if I am going here in the glomerulus, and if I show you this epithelium, if I show you this epithelium, this epithelium here, so you see it will be simple squamous, because you see you have some cells which are flat, this one for example. So it will be simple squamous here in the capsule of the, in the Bowman's capsule of your kidney, in the external layer of your Bowman capsule, yeah, of the glomerulus. Okay, so we're okay now? So should we stop here? And anyway, in like 3 weeks or 2 weeks, when we do the lymphoid tissue, because it's relatively short, we will do like a review with different slides, and you could use your cell phones to enter the answers. Yeah. Okay. So we are okay now. And sorry for the technical problem. So see you later. Yeah. Okay. So have a good day for now. Yeah? Bye.
Hi, sir.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.